Good morning, everyone. I am Don Fry, your new athletic director here at Mandan High School. I want to thank everyone who has stopped into the activities office this past month and introduced yourself. It is always a pleasure to meet and chat with a wonderful staff. I look forward to continue learning new things from each of you, and especially those I have not had a chance to meet yet. I would like to start by welcoming back those of you who are returning coaches and those of you who are new and have chosen to become a Mandan Brave coach. It is an exciting time to be a coach within our district, as many of your programs are moving into new facilities. I hope that our programs enjoy utilizing the updated weight room as well as our indoor practice facilities available for each of you to use both in season and out of season. I hope your summer has been enjoyable and you are either ready or getting ready for our fall season to kick off. As you run through your checklist of things to do before the start of your season, one of the items will be to host a parent meeting, which is why we are all gathered here today. After you leave here today, you should be able to communicate and answer your parents' questions regarding our athletes' code of conduct policy and how it will affect their daughters' or sons' behavior within our program and our athletic department. In order to be consistent in our athletic mission and communicate with our parents and athletes, we're going to discuss our athlete code of conduct as well as a few new changes adopted by our athletic department this past year, including our new online scheduling, our payment acceptance options, and I'm going to introduce you to our new sports medicine program director. Please feel free to ask questions at any point during this presentation. However, I would appreciate if you save some of them till the end, as I might be able to answer your questions at some point in a slide based off our topics. Participation in any MHS activity or program is a privilege. Our students are required to uphold themselves to high standards of citizen conduct and appearance, which is appropriate for our students who represent Mandan High Schools and our community. To participate in a school activity, parents and guardians and students must sign the code of conduct and accept the terms and conditions and the rules set forth by the Mandan Public Schools, the North Dakota High School Activities Association, and you as the coach or advisor of our activities. Mandan Public Schools believes that students have the right to pursue their education while also developing their potential within a positive learning environment. One method to build upon our students' potential is the use of extracurricular activities, which we are all a part of. An effective athletic environment is the result of our leadership, expectations of our athletes, and a clear definition of purpose which is communicated to our athletes, staff, parents, and supported by our community. The purpose of our code of conduct for our athletes is to define those behaviors necessary for a positive athletic environment. Our athlete code of conduct explains the rights and responsibilities of our student athletes. It also provides a definition of the offenses while outlining disciplinary procedures for our athletes who do violate our code. These provisions apply to all of our athletes in Mandan Public Schools. Mandan Public Schools and our Board of Education complies with all federal laws, regulations prohibiting discrimination, with all the requirements and regulations set forth by our U.S. Department of Education. It is the policy of the Board of Education and the school district not to unlawfully discriminate on the basis of sex, race, color, national origin, religion, height, weight, marital status, a handicap, or any other type of disability. The school district reaffirms its long-standing policy of compliance with all federal, state laws and regulations prohibiting discrimination, including but not limited to our Title IX, Title VII, and our Civil Rights Act of 1964. The Board of Education will not tolerate harassment of students by fellow students or by any of its employees, board members, vendors, contractors, or any others doing business with the school districts, as well as parents, visitors, invitees, or guests. Unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, or any other verbal or physical conduct relating to a student's sex, race, color, national origin is prohibited, and disciplinary action will be taken against any offender, regardless of the offender's position within the school district. Mandan Public Schools and all of its employees are responsible to comply with FERPA, or the Family Education Rights Act. FERPA affords parents and students over the age of 18 certain rights and respect to their students' educational records. In particular, we as an athletic department need to be aware of a student's right to consent to disclosure of their personal identifiable. In order for a student to participate in any MHS-sponsored activity, they must be classified as a student in good standing, which is defined as a student who is not in credit loss, they have no unresolved disciplinary action referrals, the student has met all school eligibility requirements, they have not violated any school district alcohol, tobacco, or drug policy, and they must be on track to graduate. Mandan Public Schools is committed to promoting good sportsmanship by students, athletes, coaches, and spectators. We request your cooperation by supporting the participants and officials in a positive manner. Profanity, racial, sexist comments, or any other intimidating actions directed at officials, students, athletes, coaches, or opposing team representatives will not be tolerated. These are grounds for removal from our game sites, as well as further disciplinary action as needed. No student in any grade at our school shall participate in a competitive extracurricular activity if they are not meeting satisfactory academic records. A handout of our eligibility requirements is available for you here, as well as on the district webpage. Students are able to view eligibility requirements inside of their student handbook, which is printed inside of the planner they are given the first day of class. Both at the middle school and the high school level, a student must be in attendance at school for at least half of their classes on the day of a competition or an event, unless prior approval is given by the athletic director or the building principal. Head coaches, especially all of our head coaches, may have additional training rules or regulations that apply to your student athletes. The coaching staff will inform the student athletes of any specific program rules or regulations that exist prior to the start of our season. You are required to submit your team rules to the athletic department for review. Part of your team rules must include a statement regarding the athlete's ability alone does not guarantee a position in any activity. Dedication, practice, teamwork, fundamentals, and respect for any team activity rules is required. Specific team rules will include information regarding practice and game event attendance. All activities are considered an extension of our classroom. Therefore, any other rules or expectations at Mandan High School need to apply. An important component to the athlete code of conduct, which must be communicated to our student athletes, is the alcohol, tobacco, and drug policy. The Mandan School District has adopted and supports the North Dakota High School Activities Association's definition of alcohol, tobacco, and drugs. The use or possession of tobacco, alcohol, or any other controlled substance defined by our North Dakota law is prohibited by our student athletes. Mandan Public School policy begins when the time of the notification of any violation occurs. The in-season penalty for violating the district's drug and alcohol policy shall be a 6-week suspension for a first offense and an 18-week suspension for a second offense. The suspension or period of ineligibility shall start when the student is notified by the athletic department. The out-of-season penalty for an athlete violating the drug and alcohol policy shall be the same as an in-season violation. However, the suspension will also include a 2-week period of ineligibility from the first day of competition in whatever activity the student athlete participates in. Mandan Public School also supports a cumulative violation policy where the district will disqualify a student from participating in extracurricular activities once they have 3 violations at the high school level or 2 violations within the middle school level. Violations do not carry over from the middle school level into the high school. Mandan Public has also adopted a mere presence policy where a student being in attendance at a function, in a vehicle, or at a party where the student knows or has reason to know that alcohol or drugs are being consumed illegally and failing to leave within a reasonable opportunity to do so is a violation of the Mandan School District's tobacco, alcohol, and controlled substance policy. The penalty for this violation will be a 2-week suspension or dismissal from their first competition or performance. All right, by now you're probably thinking, what do injuries and concussions have to do with the athlete code of conduct? Our athlete code of conduct goes beyond informing students and athletes what they should not do, otherwise they become ineligible. Our code is also designed to protect our student athletes in the event that they experience a medical trauma which could cause lifelong consequences. Our athletic department wants you to have an open discussion with your parent at your parent meetings to fully express that the safety of our student athletes is important and there are control measures as well as a support system for them. Prior to your parent meeting, please take the time to review the signs and symptoms in recognizing concussions and common sports-related injuries within your sport. Ensuring that our athletes use the proper sports equipment, especially protective equipment, is crucial to preventing these injuries. Athletes should be informed and follow all safety rules for their sport. In the event an athlete suffers a concussion, they will be placed in our concussion protocol and may not return to practice or competition without the clearance from their physician or the district sports medicine training staff. It is better for an athlete to miss 1 game rather than the entire season. Communication is a two-way street, and effective communication does not happen without some effort by all parties. The guidelines for effective communication are put into place by our athletic department, and all of our coaches are expected to utilize this whenever appropriate. Please review your copy or handout as we discuss your role in keeping an open line of communication with our parents and athletes. First of all, communication that the parents can actually expect from you, the coach. Number 1, your philosophy as a coach. 2, expectations of the athlete and of the team. Location of all practices and games. Athletes must also be provided a copy of any team rules as well as our athletes' code of conduct. And any of the goals, whether they be individual goals or team goals, should also be handed out to our parents. Coaches, you are encouraged to communicate with parents and athletes. However, the department has identified 5 inappropriate conversations parents should have with our coaches without involving the athletic department. Inappropriate concerns parents should not discuss with you as a coach should be playing time, team strategy, play calling, team selection, or the concerns they have about another athlete. If a conversation with a coach turns to any one of these 5 topics, you are to immediately end the discussion. Parents should schedule a meeting with you if they wish to continue with an appropriate discussion at a later date. Any vulgarity or rude behavior or threats will signal an immediate end to any discussion and should be reported to the athletic department's office. Finally, our department supports a 24-hour rule. Because you as a coach have enough to think about prior to a game or maybe on an emotional roller coaster following a game, we ask that parents not to confront a coach with any concern within 24 hours before or after a game. Often, these confrontations will lead to emotionally charged discussions that bring no resolution. Waiting 24 hours after the conclusion of a game will allow both the parent and you, the coach, time to cool down before discussing any of their concerns. Conflicts are going to happen when a student becomes involved in multiple extracurricular activities. The sharing of our athletes is strongly encouraged between programs who experience a student athlete being involved in more than one activity. Whenever a conflict arises and the athletic department becomes involved, the athletic director will not discuss any of these concerns that has not already been discussed between the student athlete and you, the coach. If a conflict cannot be worked out between the coach and the athlete, parents may become involved in order to identify a potential solution. It is important that the athletic department does not guarantee a resolution to all of our extracurricular activities and concerns, even when a parent meeting between the athletic department, coach, and athlete results in no solution. The entire athletic department will not discuss any of these concerns a parent has via social media. When needed, a phone call or a face-to-face meeting is preferred to discuss these concerns. The use of social media by Mandan High School students and coaches requires everyone to exercise good judgment and conduct. Student athletes are not allowed to post information, photos, inappropriate behavior, or items that could be viewed as demeaning, inflammatory to teammates, coaches, and our community. Coaches should not comment on injuries, officiating, or team matters that could reasonably be viewed as confidential to other team members. Everyone using social media is expected to follow the guidelines of all respective social media website rules as well. When considering to use a social media, it is best to think twice before posting or sending a message. If you would not like the world to know what and why you are sending a message for commenting on a topic, then don't hit that send button. Be respectful and positive in all of your posts and comments you are making. Remember, social media is permanent, even if you hit the delete option. Messages are out there even when you don't think you can see them immediately. Screenshots only take a second to take. Do not post anything unless you are on the right state of mind and emotion as well. Coaches are expected to monitor your social media websites if the coach uses these services. Learn the privacy settings for each of these sites offered. Finally, the code of conduct is in effect for our entire school year and includes practices or out-of-season activities or events. Parts of this code are also in effect to all students, whether or not they are involved in activity. In order for a student athlete to view the detailed policies which governs them, these policies can be found inside of their student handbook. Finally, you will be required to collect a signature acknowledging that the student has read the code of conduct. A great time to collect the code of conduct forms from your athletes and parents is during your parent meeting, which you are about ready to host. If an athlete or parent is not present for this meeting, the form must be turned in to you prior to them participating in their first practice. All signed forms must be turned into the activities department prior to your first competitive event. No one may participate in a competitive event or contest without having their athlete code of conduct signed and turned in to the athletic department. At this time, I'd like to open up the floor for any discussion you may have regarding the athlete code of conduct and the topics we discussed. As you begin planning your parent meetings, please make the time to discuss the code with all stakeholders. An open discussion with them about your expectations and the school district expectations will help prevent some events from becoming larger than they actually need to be. Please stop by anytime, and my door is always open as I want to be available to you whenever possible. Thank you and have a